The Temple Mount, also known as the Haram, is one of the most important religious sites in the Old City of Jerusalem. It has been used as a religious site for thousands of years. At least 4 religious traditions are known to have made use of the Temple Mount: Judaism, Greco-Roman paganism, Christianity, and Islam. The present site is dominated by 3 monumental structures from the early Umayyad period: the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the Dome of the Rock and the Dome of the Chain. Herodian walls and gates, with additions dating back to the late Byzantine and early Islamic periods, cut through the flanks of the mount. Currently it can be accessed via 11 gates, 10 reserved for Muslims and 1 for non-Muslims, with guard posts of Israeli police in the vicinity of each. Jewish and Christian tradition identifies the Temple Mount with Mount Moriah, the supposed location of the binding of Isaac. The Temple Mount was also formerly identified with Mount Zion, but the Jebusite fortress there has been placed in the neighborhood of Wadi Hillway on the eastern hill, and the name is now separately associated with Jerusalem's western hill. The Temple Mount is the holiest site in Judaism, which regards it as the place where God's divine presence is manifested more than any other place. According to the rabbinic sages whose debates produced the Talmud, it was from here the world expanded into its present form, and where God gathered the dust used to create the first human, Adam. Since at least the 1st century CE, the site has been associated in Judaism with the location of Abraham's binding of Isaac. According to the Bible, both Jewish temples stood at the Temple Mount, though there is no proof for the first temple. However, the identification of Solomon's temple with the area of the Temple Mount is widespread. According to the Bible, the site should function as the center of all national life, a governmental, judicial and religious center. During the Second Temple period it functioned also as an economic center. According to Jewish tradition and scripture, the first temple was built by King Solomon, the son of King David, in 957 BCE and destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE. The second was constructed under the auspices of Zerubbabel in 516 BCE and destroyed by the Roman Empire in 70 CE. In the 2nd century, the site was used for a temple to Jupiter Capitolinus. It was redeveloped following the Arab conquest. Jewish tradition maintains it is here a third and final temple will also be built. The location is the holiest site in Judaism and is the place Jews turn towards during prayer. Due to its extreme sanctity, many Jews will not walk on the mount itself, to avoid unintentionally entering the area where the Holy of Holies stood. Since according to rabbinical law, some aspect of the divine presence is still present at the site. It was from the Holy of Holies that the high priest communicated directly with God. Among Sunni Muslims, the mount is widely considered the 3rd holiest site in Islam, revered as the noble sanctuary, the location of Muhammad's journey to Jerusalem and ascent to heaven. The site is also associated with Jewish biblical prophets who are also venerated in Islam. After the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem in 637 CE, Umayyad caliphs commissioned the construction of the Al-Aqsa Mosque and Dome of the Rock on the site. The dome was completed in 692 CE, making it one of the oldest extant Islamic structures in the world, after the Kaaba. The Al-Aqsa Mosque rests on the far southern side of the mount, facing Mecca. The Dome of the Rock currently sits in the middle, occupying or close to the area where the Holy Temple previously stood. In light of the dual claims of both Judaism and Islam, it is one of the most contested religious sites in the world. Since the Crusades, the Muslim community of Jerusalem has managed the site as a waqf, without interruption. As the site is part of the Old City, controlled by Israel since 1967, both Israel and the Palestinian Authority claim sovereignty over it, and it remains a major focal point of the Arab-Israeli conflict. In an attempt to keep the status quo, the Israeli government enforces a controversial ban on prayer by non-Muslims. Location and dimensions. The Temple Mount forms the northern portion of a very narrow spur of hill that slopes sharply downward from north to south, rising above the Kidron Valley to the east and Tyropion Valley to the west. Its peak reaches a height of 740 meters above sea level. This artificial expansion resulted in a large flat expanse which today forms the eastern section of the Old City of Jerusalem. The trapezium-shaped platform measures 488 meters along the west, 470 meters along the east, 315 meters along the north and 280 meters along the south, giving a total area of approximately 150,000 square meters. The northern wall of the mount, together with the northern section of the western wall, is hidden behind residential buildings. The southern section of the western flank is revealed and contains what is known as the Western Wall. The retaining walls on these two sides descend many meters below ground level. A northern portion of the Western Wall may be seen from within the Western Wall tunnel, which was excavated through buildings adjacent to the platform. On the southern and eastern sides the walls are visible almost to their full height. The platform itself is separated from the rest of the Old City by the Tyropion Valley, though this once deep valley is now largely hidden beneath later deposits, and is imperceptible in places. The platform can be reached via Gate of the Chain Street, a street in the Muslim quarter at the level of the platform. Actually sitting on a monumental bridge, better source needed. The bridge is no longer externally visible due to the change in ground level, but it can be seen from beneath via the Western Wall tunnel.